workshop of getting through it. So anyway, I'll take that back. It's actually 6:06. And July 11th, 2026, Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman will now begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and online. I want to thank you for your presence at tonight's Board Mayor and Alderman meeting. My name is Ron Williams, the 4th elected mayor of town of Farragut. We appreciate that each of you has taken your time from your busy schedules to either attend or review tonight's meeting. This will be a great example of how our town government works tonight, and all Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All board meetings minutes are taken and are available at a later date. Each meeting will be recorded and can be viewed at a later date on YouTube. If you're in attendance, you should be able to pick up a copy of tonight's agenda at the door when you came in. If you could not attend tonight and are viewing from home, then the agenda is available online at our website. For those in attendance that would like to speak, please pick up a blue card at the door, write your name and the agenda number that you wish to speak on, and turn it in down here to the town recorder in front of me. There will also be time reserved near the end of the meeting for citizen comments on non-agenda subjects, which requires that you fill out a blue card with citizen comments as your time that you wish to speak. On each agenda item, the mayor will ask the town administrator for residents' input. During this time, any Farragut resident wishing to speak to the board on that specific agenda item may do so for up to 3 minutes. After being recognized by the mayor, please go to the podium microphone to be heard and viewed by all. Push the button until the green light comes on, and you will be able to speak. To conduct efficient business-like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how this meeting will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, assure that all points of view are heard and considered, and provide common courtesy to everyone. We ask that you observe the established meeting rules when addressing the board. At the beginning of each presentation, please state your name and the address for the record. We ask that you address all your questions, comments to the mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor to my right. Do not direct questions to the staff or the alderman. If necessary, the mayor may call on those members concerning your question or your comments. Once you've given your input, please return to your seat so we can continue. We ask that every speaker avoid use of improper language, profanity, or other inappropriate conduct, and address issues, not individuals or personalities, with malicious comments. Speakers should strive to avoid redundancy and should have their own original viewpoint. So we ask that you also stay on topic for that particular agenda item. Okay, meeting call to order. We will start tonight's meeting with a roll call by the town recorder for a quorum.
Alderman Kane. Alderman LaCroix.
Here.
Alderman Meyer. Here. Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Thank you. A quorum has been recognized. So now please join me, if you may, or if you can, if you're able, for a reflection to our nation's veterans, along with the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag, led tonight by Alderman LaCroix. Okay, do we have any agenda amendments? None? Okay, I'll ask for a motion, please, and that would be Alderman. Okay, if in favor of approval, please say yes. Yes. Any noes? Let the record show June 11th, 2026 agenda has been approved as posted. Okay, minutes. Do we have any amendments to our meeting minutes?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Okay. Drew and Joe. Okay, if in favor, vote by saying yes. Yes. Any noes? Let the record show minutes have been approved as posted. Okay, mayor's report. I'll start off with a thank you for all who attended the Intro to Farragut reunion. We're also looking forward to a great class again this fall. I also want to recognize the Farragut Rotary Club, who all came together with the area Rotary clubs and built 72 beds for kids without beds. Okay, Next will be ordinances. Well, let's see. Do we have anyone else, any of the rest of the aldermen have anything to report? None? Okay. Then we'll move right on to ordinances. We have two to review tonight. Ordinance 2610, approval of ordinance 2610, an ordinance on the first reading to amend the Farragut Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, zoning, Chapter 3, specific district regulations to replace Section 5, rural single-family acre residential districts, R1 SA, with rural large lot estate district, RLEA, or REL, excuse me. And Mark, you're up.
Yeah, Mark Shipley, I'll be presenting this ordinance and the next one. This particular ordinance represents a new zoning district that would replace a zoning district that we really haven't used, frankly, in decades. The R1 SA is a zoning district that there are no properties in the town that are zoned R1 SA anymore. Historically, part of Bel Air was zoned R1 SA, and then we rezoned all of Bel Air a few years ago to R1. So this particular proposed zoning district, the rural large lot estate district, would replace that section of the zoning ordinance. So we're not creating an additional district in the zoning ordinance. So the idea for this came about a few months ago when, under Citizen Forum, there was a request made to the board to ask the staff to create a zoning district for estate lots. The intent of this particular zoning district is just to provide a lower density development option as in comparison to like R1 or R2, but not have such a large acreage like you would have in the agricultural zone, where it's 5 acres. So the intent of that is to try to preserve some of the rural character by having the larger lots, and that's consistent with part of our comprehensive land use plan. So when this was presented to the Planning Commission in April for the workshop discussion, we had some input that was incorporated into Ordinance 2610 that was presented in your packet. Some of the key provisions in this particular district is a pretty simple and straightforward district. It has a 2-acre minimum lot size, and it also provides an applicant with the opportunity for the Planning Commission to relax or waive certain development requirements in our subdivision regulations that would be more geared toward more dense residential developments. And that would be applicable where someone is demonstrating with their layout that they are trying to work with the land, they're trying to preserve as much of the rural character as possible. And so those would be some things that the Planning Commission could consider if someone is demonstrating that. So when this ordinance was presented to the Planning Commission at their meeting on May 21st, they did unanimously recommend approval of Ordinance 26-10. And the motion is to approve Ordinance 26-10 on first reading.
Do we have any resident input on this?
Yes. Greg Wibberly.
Excuse me?
Greg Wibberly.
Greg Ridley? Okay, Mr. Ridley, please step up to the microphone. And you know how to use it, so.
Evening, gentlemen. There's been a lot of talk during this election season about transparency, and transparency in government, of course, is the foundational principle of democracy because it fosters public trust, and it is the obligation of public officials to not only embrace it when it comes to policy decisions, expenditures, and operations, but to encourage it through public discourse. When it comes to zoning, the town's ordinance should give clear guidance to how land is developed and how unusual land features can be addressed. In that regard, variances are a vital part of the planning process. because they require an applicant to provide plans for public scrutiny while also requiring the government to provide proper notice of such a request. As a consequence, affected residents or other interested parties can participate in the decision-making process. A variance should be able to pass a hardship test, in essence proving that unique physical features prevent conformance to the code rather than a personal inconvenience or profit motive to the developer. A variance request should also prove that no public harm will result from the change, including to safety or worsening of water drainage. And finally, does the variance provide the absolute minimal relief of the requirement? This proposed ordinance does not address any of these guidelines. It effectively puts the Planning Commission or the town engineer into the decision-making role by eliminating, and quote unquote, the need for separate variances as part of the review. For open space, street width, street drainage, stormwater detention, and sidewalks. I recently wrote an editorial in the Farragut Press about who benefits from the status quo. One of those beneficiaries is developers. I feel that this ordinance could not have been written any more favorable to those that wish to build on agricultural land in our town. That is so clearly evident in the open-end description where the RLE district provides for, again quoting, very low density residential development. In fact, this ordinance allows for a much higher density compared to the agricultural zoning it was initially intended to replace. So it would appear that all of the recent advocacy by some for controlling higher density residential development and maintaining the character of the town does not pass the smell test. This proposal specifically flies in the face of what the citizens of our town are asking for: transparency in what affects their neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna do something very unusual here. Any more?
No, sir.
Can you come back up to the podium, please? Can you address some of this concerns?
Well, you have to rezone to get this district. One of the reasons this was brought up as a new district is that we had a couple of estate subdivisions that came to the Planning Commission over the past few years, and they had to go through numerous variances because the nature of their project was more, these regulations are geared more toward a traditional, more dense subdivision development. And so it was just, it seemed kind of unnecessary, all the variances that they were having to request, because they're providing very large lots. There's a lot of inherent open space to these developments. There's less impacts to your stormwater system because you got a lot more undisturbed areas. So that was the reason, one of the reasons that we put this district together, and to give it more flexibility to encourage a less dense type of development than most people would probably want to try to propose, by giving them some incentives to do something that would be less dense and more rural preservation than the other options that we have in our zoning district. So, people right now have to go to R1 or R2 or something like that, which is a much more dense development option and has a lot more impact. And a lot of the subdivision regulation provisions are really geared toward those more dense type of subdivisions. So that's why we picked out some of these things, like the stormwater, the street width, the open space. All those things, if you have really large lots, they can be evaluated in terms of whether they make sense or not. And, it's just trying to treat these type of developments the same as the more dense other residential developments. Is you're not really comparing apples and apples, in my opinion. And I think that's what the Planning Commission agreed with as well, is they realized that some of these projects that had come before them had all these variances. They were needing variances because we didn't really have anything in place that addressed the kind of development that they were proposing. So anytime you have a lot of variances that someone is asking for, you need to look at your ordinance language and see what the problem is. And that's what we did with this particular zoning district.
Okay. Any questions for Mark while he's up? And I'll start with Vice Mayor. No? Mr. LaCroix?
Yeah, so when folks were moving from agricultural and asking for rezoning into R1, and they would have to go through variances to get that zoning done, we removed some of those obstacles. We reduced density in this zone. So the obstacles for variances, could you just go through that again? Was it stormwater creation development, curb and gutter, those kinds of things? Would it make the development more, I guess, I don't know what the proper term for it is, but, you know, when you put a street in with curb and gutter, it changes the character of that. Are those the things? What are the things?
Yeah, we identified these 5 things specifically because they were things that if you relax the standards on those, they help promote more of a rural look and feel. Like the curb and gutter adds more hardscape to the street, and so does the street width. And so looking at all that together, you had a slightly more narrow street with open ditch drainage. It just retains more of that rural look and feel that this district is really trying to promote, and is stated in the intent section. The town attorney did look at this, and he had no issues with it. I sent it to him. He's gave me his feedback. He had no comments about it. So again, comparing this to R1 or R2 or any of those other more traditional, more dense zoning districts is not really a valid comparison.
The other piece is stormwater, you know, so you have the runoff, more density creates more runoff. But when you have this more rural landscape where the lots are larger, you don't have this big road, are you worried about that runoff piece?
Well, the language, it does state that it has to be supported by the town engineer, so he still needs to look at the layout, what they're proposing, and make a determination as to whether he's comfortable with them waiving or relaxing some aspect of that requirement.
So we're still going to require, you know, this development of low density, extremely low density. They still have to worry about stormwater runoff. They have to worry about topography. They have to worry about, you know, all the other engineering aspects of it.
Yeah, in fact, there's an incentive to work better with the topography, because if you don't do that and you don't demonstrate that you're trying to retain as much of the rural character as possible, you don't qualify for these 5 lower or lessening of the subdivision regulation standards, opportunity to do that at least. So, you know, if somebody just coming in and not paying any attention to the land or the existing tree cover or anything, and they're just kind of, you know, throwing something together and it's got a huge amount of cut and fill to it, then they're not going to qualify for these.
One more question and I'll let it go. I know that there's a resident that brought this forward. I think that resident is on Virtue in Evans, who did a rezoning request to move their property from agriculture to, we didn't have this at the time, so they went to R1. So the idea was they wanted, you know, 8, 10 lots. You know, and you know the property I'm talking about. How many homes can they put on it now in R1? Do you know that number?
Well, R1 is if you have sanitary sewer available, it's a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size, so that's less than half an acre. And now this is 2 acre minimum. So it's a much larger.
4 times. He could have 4 times the number of homes on that just by going to R1 instead of.
Oh, yeah.
At that case, that's significant density changes.
Yeah.
So if he had the opportunity to go to RLE, do you think he would have?
I'm trying to remember what size lots his was. He probably would have given that some serious consideration, because it does have some of the flexibility in there that he could have benefited from.
Sure. Thank you.
I think I agree with you on that, Mark. Some of the concerns he had was with the R1 type of zoning, so he would have probably went with the 2 acre lot size, because he did want to, it was agriculture, and he really wanted to keep it as close to that as he could, and there was things he didn't want. He didn't want sidewalks, he didn't want curb and gutter, he didn't want any of that. And so I think that this is lowering the density for a piece of land that's available. Not everybody will agree with that, I'm sure, but with us being as close to being built out as we are, there's just a few really pieces of land that's even left that, and they're basically infill. Yes, we've got 2 big pieces of property, but both of those can be built as land use and zoned. They wouldn't need any sort of a change whatsoever. So unless somebody else has got anything else to say about this. We do?
Yes. Louise Pavlin.
Okay. No, we don't. No, Scott made it and Drew seconded it. We do have a motion.
I'm sorry.
I've got it written down here, sorry. I'm glad you.
It's all right.
Ms. Pavlin, you're up.
Just for clarity, to rezone Mr. Williams' property, we had to rezone it to R1. He has rights to R1 now. I'm just making that clear. He now has rights to R1. That property he may never develop it, as he wanted 8 lots. That could go R1, he has that by right. That means it could be up to, I think it's 45 acres. So he could have 78 units on that, and there's nothing we can do about that. He now has rights to R1. So the point of this was, let's make this intentional. If you want to go to estate-sized lots and do these large lots, let's give you that option so the community knows what they're getting. Because now we don't know. The community doesn't really know what it's going to get from that property. It could be 8 lots, or it could be 78 lots. 78 lots is a difference of 70 lots is a big difference. So that was the point of this, was that we not end up in a situation where the community, because no one was concerned about 8 lots. 8 lots is, but they may have had something to say about 78 lots. So that was the concern about this.
Okay, thank you. I think that kind of addresses Mr. Wyberly's point, but anyway. We've got a motion and we've got a second. Would you please do a roll call vote?
Alderman LaCroix.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Okay, let the record show that ordinance 26-10 has been approved on the first reading by a 4-0 vote on June 11th, 2026 at approximately 6:30 p.m. Okay. Next will be ordinance 2609, an ordinance on the second reading to amend the Farragut Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, zoning Chapter 4, general provisions and exceptions, Section 7, Farragut Municipal Code, flood damage prevention regulations, Section C, general provisions, 2, basis for establishing areas of special flood hazard, to update the referenced community panel numbers, 4, 0243G and 044G to reference the Lomar affecting these panel numbers, and that became effective February 10th, 2026.
Yes, during the first reading discussion, I'm sure it was mentioned that in Chapter 4 of the zoning ordinance, that's where our flood damage prevention regulations exist. And those regulations reference the maps that map our floodplains in the town. So when changes are made to our maps, then the ordinance language needs to reflect that. And that's really the main intent of ordinance 26-09, is to acknowledge that two of the community panel maps did change as a result of a letter of map revision that became effective this past February. Just again, to give you a little overview of letter of map revisions are not something that's initiated by the town. They're not controlled at all by the town, really. We just have to review and sign off on them ultimately. But they're very detailed processes that hydrologic engineers do extremely technical studies, and then they submit that to FEMA for their hydrologic engineers to review them, and it's usually a back and forth, and this one took years to go through the process. And what you end up with is a much more accurate flood map because it's in real time. It reflects development that have occurred in the watershed since the last time it was updated. So it's a much more accurate map. And so, again, the main provision or reason for this particular ordinance is just to acknowledge that a couple of the community panel maps did change as a result of that letter of map provision. So when this was presented to the Planning Commission at their meeting on March 19th, they did unanimously recommend approval of ordinance 26-09. And the motion is to approve ordinance 26-09 on second reading.
Okay, we have resident input on this one?
No, sir.
Oh, we do not? Okay. Then I'll start with Alderman Burnett for any question or comments while Mark is standing there.
No questions, Mark.
Okay. Alderman Kane is not here. Alderman LaCroix.
Real quick, and I mean, this is just curiosity on my part. Looking at the differences between the two maps, do you know how many acres of flood area was it seems pretty significant.
I don't know how many acres.
Yeah, just
really
curious.
Vice Mayor? Well, I don't have anything either. With discussion closed, I'll ask for town recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman LaCroix,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Meyer,
Yes.
Alderman Burnett,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Okay, thank you. Let the record show that ordinance 2609 has been approved on the second read and final reading by a 4-0 roll call vote, June 11th, 2026, at approximately 6:34 p.m. Okay, business items. On tonight's agenda, we do have two business items for review and consideration for approval. Approval of award of contract 2026-29 Campbell Station Road and Jamestown Boulevard intersection improvements to Stansel Electric Company.
Mayor, the thing tonight is sorry, Mayor, the business item for A is the approval of the Village Green Swim Team.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Triathlon.
Hold on. Okay, sorry. I got my paperwork mixed up here. Okay. This item involves a request for approval of the Village Green Swim Team Triathlons to be held July the 16th.
Yes, this is a recurring event in the Village Green subdivision that involves selected public streets. And that's the main reason it's before you all, because you all have the role of granting authority using your public streets for events. This particular event will start and finish at the Village Green Pool on Monticello. There are anticipated to be about 100 participants, maybe 25 or so spectators. There won't be any streets closed for this event, and it will be roughly between 7 and 10 a.m. They did have to revise the route a little bit because South Monticello, part of that's going to be closed due to storm sewer pipe replacement, so they had to use Clover Fork Drive instead, and that's what's shown on the screen there, and just kind of modify the way they were going to do the route for both groups. So this particular event did go before our event committee on June 1st, and we did unanimously recommend approval of the event. And the motion is to approve the Village Green Swim Team Triathlon event to be held on July 16th.
Okay, Scott. Second is Joe. Okay, any resident comments on this one?
No, sir.
And do we have a representative? Okay. Come on up. Okay, push the green button there. There you go. And tell us who you are.
Nicole Bales.
Okay. Do you have anything to add on this particular?
Nope, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Then I'll ask Alderman Burnett if you have any questions.
No questions. Good luck with it.
Thank you. It's a fun event.
Alderman Kane's not here. Alderman LaCroy.
Enjoy yourself, wear those kids out.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
We'll try. Thank you.
I have nothing as well. Discussion closed. Ask if in favor, vote by saying yes. Yes. Let the record show that the swim event has been approved. Thank you. Appreciate you coming down. Okay, next will be approval of fiscal year 2027 volunteer committee appointments.
Mayor, we just had a workshop to discuss committees for next year, and those start July 1. All the appointment processes for those and run through June 30th. We discussed several different committees and have a list of those to discuss with you now. Haley Russell, our town recorder, will read off the names for each of the committees, the names of the people that were potential appointees. If the board has any questions, once we get through all the list, and certainly we're going to answer those. If you have any other discussion you'd like to have, other than that, it'd be a motion and a second and approval of the committees for FY27.
Arts and Beautification Committee had 7 positions for a 2-year term. Cynthia Galentine, Dot LaMarche, Cynthia Smith, William Craddock, Jamie Rorick, Susan Brooks, and Linda McConnell. The Board of Zoning Appeal had 1 position for a 5-year term, Michael Bellamy. Museum Advisory Board had 6 positions for a 2-year term. Beverly Hammond, Bill Battle, Joyce Moran, Christopher Carnes, Roger Kittleson, and Melody Wagstaff. Farragut Tourism Visitor Committee had 4 positions for 2-year terms. The attractions rep is Aaron Gicking. Dining rep is Candace Viox. At-large member Ron Pinchuk and at-large member Reed Honkin. Parks and Athletic Council, 6 positions for a 2-year term. Jerry Pullen, Deborah Pinchuk, Bill McAdams, Benson Scott, Antonia Zimmer, and Reed Honkin. The Stormwater Advisory Committee had 3 positions for 2-year terms. At-large was Jim Bolin, at-large Julie Childers, and then the landscape architect is still open. Visual Resources Review Board is 3 positions for a 2-year term. Brittany Moore, Dawn Mann, Jordan McGrew. The Tree Board had all 7 positions available again. At-large is Gerald Thornton. Planning Commission Representative Louise Pavlin. Utility Representative Adam Duncan. Town of Farragut Staff Representative for Planning's Mark Shipley. Town Representative for Engineering is Cliff Mann. Town Representative for Parks and Recreation, Ron Ostrike. And then Town Representative for Public Works, Logan Simpkins. Then Education Relations Committee for Farragut Middle School, Nicole Nestor. And then for the St. John Newman Catholic is Meredith Retta. And then the Board of Mayor and Alderman Representative Drew Burnett.
Resident comments on this one?
No, sir.
None? Okay, then I'll ask if in favor, vote by saying yes.
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 Okay, let the record show that the request has been approved as read. Okay. Next will be Citizens Forum. Do we have anyone signed up for that?
Yes, sir, there's 2.
Okay, thank you.
First one's Louise Pavlin.
Okay, Ms. Pavlin, you'll step up to the microphone.
Elise Pavlin. For the past several weeks, data centers have been a topic of discussion in Knox County. Recently, a question was posed to me about my position on data centers. I had assumed that the town's zoning ordinance does not allow them. In reality, our zoning ordinance does not specifically address data centers. It's not even clear what category data centers may fall under. Are they a utility use, or do they fall under business services? Currently, utility uses and business services are allowable uses in several zoning districts, including C1, C13, C12, C2, BD4, O1, O13, O15, and S1. According to a conversation I had with State Representative Jason Zachary, the Tennessee General Assembly plans to address data centers in some capacity during the next session. They are in information gathering mode. The Tennessee General Assembly may come up with a set of rules, regulations, and parameters which may or may not preempt regulations set up by local governments. While the possibility is slim that a data center would be constructed in the town of Farragut, I believe it would be in the best interest of our community, the Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen, to place a moratorium on any possibility for a data center being constructed in Farragut while we await clarity and direction from the Tennessee General Assembly. Thank you.
Okay, it's good information. Next,
Brian Walker.
okay, Mr. Walker, please step up. And she left the mic on, so you're ready to talk.
All right. Brian Walker, 408 East Kingsgate. And I want to do a quote by Ronald Reagan. It says, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And I want to talk about what's happening with the business liaison. It's been talked about for a while now, a long time. And I keep hearing the reasons for this position that I've heard is, we've had this position before, so we should do it again. I would say no. We have been working on this for a while, which again, like I said, it's been going on for years now. And I want to come to you as far as BOMA goes and say it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to admit that the town has changed now, and now is not the time to continue with something we've done before. Now, Mayor Williams, you mentioned at a previous BOMA meeting about having someone go to Las Vegas in order to attract franchises to come here. My point is, I'm pretty much done with franchises. I would like to work on more people coming to this area and building up a homegrown business that can actually turn into things. Another argument was we need more sales tax revenue. And if the whole idea is, obviously, sales tax is important to the town of Farragut. If we were to bring up more sales tax, are we just going to continue buying and paying for new employees to the town of Farragut? Because at some point, where does it stop? Where we just continue having government upon government? And I mean, I've seen those places as far as New York City and Seattle and some of the other things that are happening right now in larger cities. Our town doesn't need it. And looking at this too, the other argument was we have this money in the budget already. Well, I say, all right, if we have the money, go back to my other one that says we had this position before, we don't need it now. If we have the money, there's a lot of talk right now about law enforcement and our own police department. Ignore it? Okay, I mean, just, okay. You did that? Yeah, Joe. So the idea is if we have extra money in our budget, and I say extra, remember it's taxpayer money in the budget, at that point, the law enforcement deal comes in. I'd rather look at having another full-time officer or a full-time and a part-time person. So depending on talking to our current sheriff, who's going to be, replaced here in a little bit because he's termed out, we could talk to Mr. Brett Gibson. I'm going to call him Sheriff Gibson, but he hasn't been elected yet. So anyway, I'm looking at, I'd rather have more money going to law enforcement if we have the taxpayer dollars and then just making businesses feel better. The alternatives we already have in place, Chamber of Commerce, we have Shop Farragut, and we have the Farragut Business Alliance as well. Maybe bolster them with some money if we need to, or simply ask them to take on another position. Another thing we have, there are private consultants out there that would do exactly that and wouldn't be paid by the town. They'd be paid by the people that are actually using them for the government or for their own business. Also, there's volunteers. We got plenty of volunteers out there that can do it. So I urge you to either look into alternatives for having a business liaison or change the rules and regulations, because I keep hearing it's so hard to have a business here in Farragut. There's so much red tape. Well, stop treating the symptoms and start treating the actual problem. So, as Ronald Reagan would say, please don't make that day where somebody walks in and says, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And I'll start off on this. The Vegas recruitment trips were a thing of the past. Really, they were very specific on what they were there to do. And David Smoke, our town administrator, went. Vice Mayor Pavlin went. We've all been there. And it kind of started a number of years ago when this town was basically a ghost town. It was very much in decline. And the point was that we needed to do something because the sales tax base had shrunk considerably. What I guess started that was whenever Parkside come along, and we had a lot of businesses that moved from the town over to Parkside. It started with Walmart, among many, okay? And so at that point, we had three guys that were, all three really dialed into this, going out there and recruiting businesses to come to town. The very first one that they were able to recruit was the big store we have down on the corner, okay? That is our largest sales tax base, and that's Costco. And I still thank the ones that went, because that was a real shot in the arm. That's what got it started. If you look on the end of Parkside that starts at Red Robin and goes down to Campbell Station, a whole lot of that right there was recruitment, okay, to bring in businesses that were sales tax providers. Yes, we had banks and insurance companies, some of the ones that really do not supply any sales tax whatsoever. But that's still part of the pie. You have to have those for the convenience of residents that live here. The recruitment of the Publixes, the Topgolf. I went to Dallas, Texas on recruiting Topgolf. That was something that, again, it's a big sales tax provider. You look at the Komodo that's just moved in where Buddy Gregg's at. That's another recruitment. I don't know, when you say that you don't need somebody to do that, as businesses move on, we've had quite a few in Turkey Creek that would moved out of smaller or locations into larger locations. And as they do that, sometimes that larger location's not in the town of Farragut. So, and you've got an empty building. So recruiting, I think, is something that will have to go on from now on. Whether it's, I mean, Brian, you've got good ideals, don't get me wrong. To have some sort of a consultant or something like that to pay them to go to Vegas or to go wherever and try to recruit business for our empty buildings whenever they come up. I think that's probably a smart choice as well. I think something that was done was this position was actually put in the budget, okay? I don't think we've got anybody in mind right now. That's something that is still a discussion item, but and that's number one. Number two, as far as the Sheriff's Department, I've had an ongoing battle with not the sheriff. It wasn't the sheriff. It was actually the PR person for the sheriff that I've had the battle with as far as police protection. We have the officers that we have that work in our area, particularly the two that are sitting on the back row, are outstanding. Brad Hall was outstanding when he was here. But they closed the precinct, as we all know, and they moved Brad to the jail. And that's where he goes every day and sits. It's not really doing policing, but that's what the decision was by the PR department. So as far as Brent Gibson, the sheriff that's been elected, I think that cleared last night from what I was told. And so he'll be coming in September. I hope that the sheriff that we've got now continues to get better and lives through this sickness that he's got as far as the pancreatic cancer. We all hope that and pray that that happens. But in the meantime, what we asked for before was 2 police officers 24/7. And I don't know that we'll get it, but Brent has guaranteed me that the west sector, which would be from Pellissippi West, which would include Hardin Valley, Farragut and Choteau, would be taken care of when he gets in. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think that's what all the residents need to look forward to. He is very much a citizen-driven type of person. I don't know if any of you met with him. I know Benson has back there because we met with him together, and I got to listen to what he had to say, and I have faith that he'll do what he says. So anyway, that's my input, and I'll move on to the vice mayor next. Okay, Alderman LaCroix.
Yeah, I just want to follow up with Sheriff-elect Brent Gibson. I had a conversation with him. His change, his philosophy on policing and the community policing model really encouraged me. So, I mean, that's he really wants to change the method of patrols that are out here. I had a great conversation with him on the phone, so, and this was before the election. I think he's going to follow through with it.
Okay, Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Okay, then I think that covers, unless we have someone else. No, we do not. Okay, then looks like we're on to the town administrator's report. I'm going to let him do that this time.
I'm trying to figure out how I can stop this from not buzzing in the middle of me speaking too. So I apologize. It's a user error. There is no doubt about that.
That technology stuff.
I mean, this is, yeah.
You could just talk fast. Talk fast?
I could talk in 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's just go with there. So a couple things I wanted to talk to the board about this evening. One is we had to initiate an emergency repair yesterday that I signed off on, and I want to tell the board about it. On Glen Abbey Boulevard, there is a stormwater pipe that runs right down the middle of the boulevard. roughly, I think, around 60 to 100 feet of distance. That pipe has been leaking and has caused a sinkhole to occur. We've been out there to fix it once, and you can see the patch that was made, and then it came back again just this past week. So we need to do a quick fix on that and do an emergency contract to get that done. We've already executed that with Whaley Construction. They estimate that this will be less than $250,000 to repair that pipe. We do have the money in the budget. It's part of our stormwater budget this year, so there's no budget impact based on the monies that have already been allocated to our budget plan. But that's the pipe. If you look at it, there's rivets and all sorts of issues. That'll be replaced with a concrete pipe. Now that that's going down the street, our current regulations require concrete in any public infrastructure. So that way we don't have to worry about replacing that again in the future. So wanted to let the board know that. We'll come back in 2 weeks at the next board meeting and ratify that with the board, with that contract with Whaley, but I did want to make sure you knew about that. Some upcoming events that we have with the town. We have got, the mayor already mentioned our Intro to Farragut class reunion that we had last week, which was well attended. It was great, but we also have Intro to Farragut class opening this Friday. For the next month, we'll have application windows open for the public, so anybody that's interested in applying and going through the class, and then we have a lot of folks here that I see in the audience that have been through the class, which is great. When you want to learn more about your community, please sign up. It'll be on our website under our community tab, and sign up is till July 31st. This Saturday, Parks and Rec has a very busy day. We have got in the morning from 8 to 10 a.m. on June 13th, we have Farragut's Kid Triathlon at McPhee Park. We've got two age groups, age 4 to 6, going off first, and that's 75 participants already for that. And then 7 to 10-year-olds will be right after it, and there's 44 participants there. So good crowd. Should be a great time over at McPhee Park this Saturday morning. And then that evening, we're going to have, I tried my best. I apologize. Tried my best. That evening, we have got our Red, White, and Bluegrass Festival going on at Mayor Ralph McGill Plaza. We've got great bluegrass bands, 3 of them. We've got some great music. We're great food trucks as well. So it should be a good time for the family. It's a free event. Obviously, the food trucks will be a cost there if you want to get anything, but look forward to having a big crowd out there for that. We also have a youth dodgeball tournament going on at the Farragut Community Center on Tuesday, June 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. Sorry, Drew, you cannot participate. It's only ages 8 to 12. It's $10 per team, and up to 5 players per team are required. So again, registration's up until June the 16th. And then finally, we have our July 4th parade is already sold out. It does every single year. This is America's 250th anniversary, so for this event, we have got a new judging for the best Americana decorating going on for the different floats this year. So it should be exciting to see everyone out there on July 4th. Last thing I wanted to report to the board is, again, because it is toward the end of our fiscal year, we have a few budget transfers that I need to report to you at this time. One is we're moving $20,000 from property insurance to legal services to cover higher than anticipated legal fees for this year. We're moving $1,400 from parks professional services to dues and subscriptions to cover a couple of NRPA memberships that we had for new staff. We are also moving $200 from Parks Professional Services to our Arts and Beautification Fund to cover additional art show expense this year. We're moving $4,000 from Parks Professional Services to Community Center Phone and Internet to cover some overage in that line item this year. We are also moving $11,000 from Park Capital funds and $4,500 from Parks Professional Services funds to pay for park utilities at McPhee Park Phase 4 irrigation, and also the Mayor Bob Leonard pickleball lights were some additional utilities we had not planned for this past fiscal year. We also have $600 coming from Parks Professional Services to clothing and uniforms for our new parks maintenance staff. And then finally, we have $650 coming from dues and subscriptions to equipment rental, as we had to move a copier from Community Center over to Campbell Station Inn. So with that, that's all the transfers that we have done, and that's all I had to report this evening.
Okay, thank you, David. Drew can sponsor a dodgeball team, can you? Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Okay. And we do not have a town attorney report, so before we have adjournment, I'm going to go to the Alderman's request to speak, and we'll start with Alderman Burnett.
Sure, sorry. Bear habitat. I was just gonna say for the 4th of July parade, it's gonna be really, really neat. We've been working on it in the Parks and Rec. And Diane is kind of head up the Grand Marshal, piece of it, which I think is gonna be very special, being that our Grand Marshal is always, somebody from this community, that holds a special place in the majority of the, Farragut area's hearts, and this year is no different, but it's also very, very special, being the 250th anniversary celebration. And so the Grand Marshal that Diane has been putting together for weeks and probably months are going to be a lot of veterans. So it's not a singular person, which is great, but it's going to be a lot of veterans leading the way. So there'll be some time to really thank those. If you get to the parade early and get that first car or two that's coming down the road, get a chance to wave, say thank you for the service, love on them, pray for them, know what they mean to our country and to each of us individually. So really excited, and I hope everybody enjoys that aspect of it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman LaCroy?
I have
Nothing,
nothing.
Vice Mayor? And I invite the ones that are online listening or watching, the intro to Farragut class is well worth your time. I highly recommend it. It's, if you look around at all of the people that we appointed to these different events and community groups, quite a few of them are Intro to Farragut grads, and that went through the class and kind of understands how we do things here. So for the ones that are interested, I highly recommend it. So that's all I got, and without any further ado, we are adjourned.